All right, welcome to Monetary Economics, ECS 3701. So I'm gonna be referring to the questions that were sent here in the group, right? That were sent in the group. I think that's gonna be our starting point before we look at the other questions. All right, so okay. Right, just give me a second. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. All right. Okay. So, Rotondo, it's good that you've got your mic on there. Which questions in particular? I think I saw.
Yes, that one. I noticed in many question papers, they like asking similar questions to this one, 4.2. Like, would you be more willing, less willing?
Hey, these ones, they always come. 10 marks. All right, let's attend to it. Then I'll also check a similar one there.
Okay.
All right. All right, sorry about that. All right, so let's see what was on 4.1. Let's see what I actually remember this paper very well. Okay, that's fine. I think I did this question. All right. Would you be more willing or less willing to buy a share of Microsoft stock in each of the following situations? Explain your answer. So, which means our answer is more willing or less willing, and then we give a brief explanation there. So the subject matter now is, okay, so this is in what context? So this is in the context of, right, I'm gonna take you to, let me just take you to the page on the textbook where they fetch these questions from. Right, what it's in relation with. Right, just give me a second. I just got interrupted a little bit. Right. All right. All right. Right, there we go. Oh, we even had this on the notes, if I remember well. Okay, no. Okay. We even had this on the notes, so I'm just gonna show you where we get that information. But then again, take note of the whole idea that what you find, of course, on the text is not going to come exactly the way it is, but the whole context is just the same, right? The whole context is just the same. What is money? Okay, we skip that. Right. It's probably on the next chapter. Right. There we go. You get that pretty much under determinants of asset demand. So what is your demand of the asset when there is a variation in wealth, a variation in expected return, risk, etc.? That's where we're getting all that from there. All right, so, okay, wait. Actually, right, theory of portfolio of choice. This one here, which is basically the same as what we're doing, but this is what you are getting there, right? This is basically what you are getting. Wealth, expected return of relative to other assets, risk relative to other assets, and then relative liquidity to other assets. That's what they are asking here. So now our asset, the asset that we are dealing with is Microsoft stock. So we are saying, are you going to be more willing or less willing to purchase that share or that asset, to hold that asset, given the following situation? So they are basically going to be giving us situations that are similar to these here. For instance, if you see here, when there's an increase in a person's wealth, there's going to be a change in the quantity demanded. So which means we expect you to hold that even more. So let's say this is the increase in wealth. It will necessarily result in an increase in quantity demanded of the particular asset. Expected return relative to other assets. So if you expect it to pay more than other assets, then you will obviously demand more of that. And then risk relative to other assets. If there's an increase in the risk of that particular asset, you can't increase your demand there. And then if it's more liquid compared to other assets, then you might also want to demand that more. So that's the context there that we're dealing with. So let's look at the Microsoft stock. So in each of the following situations, explain in your answer. So now I want us to forget what the textbook is saying, right? And then let's try and think about this logically, right? Maybe I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourselves and then try and reason it out as economic participants. Let's say you are the one, right? Let's say you are the one that's trying to decide whether to buy less or more of the Microsoft share. So what would you do if you expect the gold's value to appreciate? Would you buy more of Microsoft stock or would you buy less? If more, why? If less, why? What do you think? Let's say you have got money. So what happens is, what's this money that people get? It's roughly RAF. Let's say you just got RAF and then you want to invest your RAF. And then would you buy more shares, more Microsoft stock, given that the expected gold value is appreciating or the gold value is expected to appreciate? What would you buy then? Anybody? Okay, I'm gonna set the pace and start with this one. So logically speaking, being a reasonable investor, you would obviously buy gold and buy less of Microsoft stock because you expect the value of gold to appreciate. So remember, in analyzing this, we are holding all other factors constant. So we are saying if the value of gold is expected to appreciate, then we are not expecting the value of Microsoft to appreciate. We are not told anything about that. So which means you obviously want to go for the one that is going to appreciate. So it's all now, it's a scenario where you buy the gold slightly cheaper and then the price of the gold goes up. So which means in these circumstances, you will then want to buy more of the gold and less of the Microsoft share. So which means the answer on this one is I would be less willing to buy the share at Microsoft. So you just write less willing because the value of gold is appreciating. So it will make more sense to buy gold than Microsoft stock. Or you could simply say the value of gold is appreciating relative to other assets in the market. So a better investment would be to go for gold. And then number two, you expect the stock value to appreciate, to depreciate. You expect the stock value to depreciate. So this is the stock value that we are referring to. So if we expect it to depreciate, are you going to buy more of that stock or less of it?
More willing.
More willing, because it's gonna be affordable.
Yeah. Since it's depreciated.
All right. So you expect the stock value to depreciate. So now here's the thing. So depreciating, it's when the stock value is losing value, right? We are agreeing there. So would you buy the stock knowing that the stock is losing value?
No,
So we'd buy less of it, yeah?
yeah,
It's like if
less,
you,
because
yeah, it's losing value. Because your whole point, remember, is to make a profit. So in these instances now, if you are saying you expect it to depreciate, so it's not depreciated yet. But remember, your biggest problem is you will buy it expensive and then it will lose value while you are holding onto that stock. So it's like you buy, what's this disease that's there now for chickens, which is making eggs expensive? Suppose it's bird flu or some virus that's on chickens. You don't want to buy chickens, you don't want to invest in chickens, and then the value of those chickens goes down because of a certain disease that they have. You basically would have lost out. So which means in this instance, again, we are less willing to buy. And then the prices in the bond market become more volatile. Right. So let's differentiate
Right.
these two now. Okay, Lebo, maybe before I talk.
Can I try? I think I'd buy more, because the bond markets will not affect the Microsoft stock. It's not going to affect the stock value of the Microsoft.
True. That's
Yes.
true. So which another way you can put this is there is a bond market and an equity market. Remember that distinction. So in the bond market, this is the debt market, and then the equities market is the stock market. So if this one is more volatile, it means it's more risky there. This market is more risky. So which means you always want to shy away from a market that is risky in favor of the one that is not risky. So you are right in saying the Microsoft stock is not going to be affected by this volatility. So you would buy more of it. Then what about if you win the lotto, your wealth increases, you have rough money? Generally speaking, would you buy more or less? Mamteto, let me hear from you. Oh, okay, Rotondo is gonna hear from you. So Mamteto, please prepare for the next one. Rotondo, over to you.
I think you would be more willing. I'm not sure.
More willing, yes.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of money now, eh? So which means you can. The one thing is, generally there is a positive relationship between wealth and our desire for stocks, our desire for investment. So when things are going well in a country and our wealth is increasing, we invest a lot more. But when things are bad, we tend to be a little bit stingy. Right. Let's say now we have a bond market that becomes more liquid. Would you rather go for the bond market or go for the stock market? Mamchecho, what do you think? So when we talk of liquidity now, we are talking about how quick it is for these assets to be converted into cash, right? And then you must always remember that we prefer the ones that are more liquid than the others. Or Mamchecho is still muted, but it's fine. So on this one, we basically, since the bond market has become more liquid, we basically want to go more for the bond market and then less on the stock market because it's not that liquid. It's like you don't want to buy an asset that you can't resell. So you always want to go for the one that you can easily resell. Right. Let's check again in similar questions here. Let's check again similar questions. Since these questions appear in every question page. Can you believe this? They repeated this This was an FI 2022.
Yeah, they love these questions.
Yo. Let's see if they have anything else here. Right. Maybe let's also do these true or false ones. Right. Since they are also related. So we will get those questions. So, but anyway, when they come, we are going to be ready for them. State whether each of the following statements is true or false or uncertain. One of the reasons why.
Is
Yes.
this the same question paper?
No, it's now a different question. Okay, let's first see what's on this question paper, mate. Because now I shifted to that one and then I saw there was a, okay, we'll look at this one. Then I saw there was a similar, it was basically the same paper, the same question, so it's fine. But Rotundo, since you brought this question paper, let's just see what else we can do here. Financing a deficit by money creation will lead to sustained inflation. Is this statement true, false, or uncertain? So let's break this down first of all. So a deficit, we are referring to government spending that exceeds government expenditure. So whenever government wants to spend more, we normally refer to that as an increase in government deficit, under the assumption, of course, that once a deficit is occurring, it's because the revenues that government is getting is less than the expenditure. Right? So hence we have a deficit. So once it's persistent, it's year in, year out. Right? It's recurring. By money creation will lead to sustained inflation. Right? And then inflation, by definition, is in any case a sustained increase in price levels, an increase in price levels. So what causes inflation? Part of the causes of inflation, if we look at this in terms of monetary, it's part of the causes of inflation when you are creating a lot of money and it's not consistent with GDP. Like it's not going hand in hand with like producing, commodities. I mean, your production of commodities is fixed, but then your money supply on the other hand is crazy. So that also causes inflation. That's what really causes inflation as a monetary phenomenon. So it's too much money chasing too few goods. So financing a deficit now, this is an instance where the government needs money, right? Election time is coming. They need money to spend. They need money to loan us. So when they print money or when they create money to finance that, does that cause inflation or not? Do you think it's true or false or uncertain? What's your take on that?
I like ask something. Is this question the same as, there's a question that I think I saw in one of the question papers. I don't know if it's this, I think it's this module, where they were talking about when the government prints more money, like it leads to something. They even gave an example with Zimbabwe, like they printed like money recklessly and it led to something. Is this the same question?
Yes, it's the same question. It's actually the same question. That's very brilliant. Even the way you are bringing it across and the example that you are giving of Zimbabwe, it's perfect. So it's basically the government trying to finance this. So they want to spend now. Then money creation, part of the money creation can be printing money, outright printing, the part of the creation process. But then sometimes again, what we'll look at before the end of the session, it may not be literally printing money, like as in the literal sense, like at work when you are running your printer. The government doesn't exactly do that. we know that that's the responsibility of the Reserve Bank. But the Reserve Bank is under the control, or can be under the control of the government. So when they want to do that, that's kind of like a quantitative easing of some sort. So how the government creates money, basically, let me just give you a breakdown of what they do using the Reserve Bank. Right? So they create these government bonds. Right? They basically create or can create government bonds. Or maybe we have government bonds in the market. In this instance, since we're talking of money creation, we've got government bonds that are in the market. So they could do that by, one of the ways in which they could do that is buying those government bonds from the market. Right? These are open market, which is though slightly different from what we are talking about here. Right? So this is basically whereby the Reserve Bank decides to buy all the government bonds, or most of the government bonds that are in the market. So what they are effectively doing is they are creating money. So they can simply print out money and put in the money in the market in exchange for those bonds. So it's still a way of creating money. And then the other way, of course, is what we call inflationary borrowing, where the government goes to the Reserve Bank. Remember, the Reserve Bank is the government's last bank. So where they go to the Reserve Bank and then borrow money from the Reserve Bank. And then in that instance, they are bringing about money in the market. And then when they bring about money in the market, it's some sort of money creation. Right? So that's not exactly, so the Reserve Bank is the one that prints out the money and then hands it over to the government as a loan. And then when that happens, now the government can then maybe pay employees, whatever they want to do. Our budget requires for us to spend more than what we are making. So which means some of our money could come from borrowing from the Reserve Bank. So that in itself leads to sustained inflation, specifically to the extent that increase in the money supply is not coupled with an increase in the GDP and increase in production. So holding all things constant, this is going to lead to inflation. Why? Because your GDP is going to stay the same while your money supply has increased. So this is going to result in a situation where too much money is chasing too few goods. Right? And in that case, I told you.
Sorry to interject. Yes. So does the same process of money creation by the government happen in a case where the government has control over the Reserve Bank when it's like the state bank?
Yes. Yes. It does. It actually happens this way when the government has control. But remember that at times when we talk of control, it might not exactly mean owning the bank and what have you, right? Because remember that whenever they come up with monetary policies, for instance, they do that in consultation with the Minister of Finance, with the department there, particularly with the Minister of Finance, so that they don't go towards each other. You can't have one person doing a policy, because we all want to develop the economy idea and we all want to fight inflation, those macroeconomic goals. So at the end of the day now, it depends with the degree of control that they have. So if you look at like our government here, it's not that much controlled. So our Reserve Bank here is not that much controlled by the government. We still have a relatively high level of independence, right? But then that having been said, remember from the previous class where we were saying who's responsible for appointing the people in the board that are going to be in the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee. So all those people, they are appointed by the president. So you see that outright independence is difficult, right? It's really difficult. It's very difficult to have outright independence, but because we have got opposing forces, it's not really possible for the government to simply say we are printing out money in this instance, or there's money creation just because we want to have a flag, for instance. Remember, they wanted to, Nathi Mthethwa wanted to put that big flag. Do you remember that issue? Suppose that money wasn't available. Now it's good because the money was available. Money was already allocated to his department. But it's an instance where money isn't available and then the government is under pressure now. And then when the government is under pressure, then they need to look to the Reserve Bank. A very good indication of this, what I've seen happen, like you've seen that the civil servants didn't get an increase not so long ago. So suppose they go on strike, right? They go on strike, on a prolonged strike. You are forcing the government, who is your employer, to act. But where is the government going to get that money from? Now you force the government. If they can't reallocate it from a different ministry, then they need to look to the Reserve Bank and then maybe print out more money. So which is what now we were saying that time when we were talking about that governor, whom I said I used to know personally, governor in Zimbabwe. Where now the issue was him and the president were in any case very close. And then the way in which the politics is structured, where the government is basically in charge of everything through. I mean, it's very close to what's happening here, that the ANC is appointing people. Right? So once you've been appointed by the government, you obviously need to tread on the line. Right? You need to tread on the line. And then so when civil servants say they don't have money, but when civil servants say they need an increase, right? What you do, you go to the Reserve Bank, talk to the Reserve Bank, and then they simply create those balances in people's account, right? Through the banks. Right? So they are basically, let's just say, loaning the money to the people. But what happens now? Too much money in the society leads to an increase in demand, and an increase in demand is basically going to lead to higher prices. So that's how that inflation started there. And then going along now, there were other factors that came into play because it's an economy. Every other thing fits into every other thing. What normally causes inflation is the expectation of inflation. It's a very huge cause of inflation, by the way. I'm not sure if it's there in the textbook, but that's a very bigger cause of inflation. So you have a situation now where, because the prices went up yesterday, people are going to expect that the prices are going to go up tomorrow again. And then when that's the case, now suppose you are the one that's selling a product, right? And then you are fearing that if I sell this thing for 10 rand, I might not be able to repurchase it again tomorrow because I might find it there now going for 11 rand from the supply. So once there's that expectation, then you might just well and then slightly increase your price and say, okay, let me sell it for 12 rand so that I can cover my back. Right? And then other people see you doing that. How are they going to respond? They will say that inflation that we expected has started. So let's follow suit. You see. So if you remember in macroeconomics, where they were saying in dealing with issues like wages in particular, they take into consideration the expectations of inflation because you want to adjust your real income all the time. You want to make sure that your real income remains intact. So if you expect that the prices are going to go up, then your negotiation for your nominal wage is going to also increase. Then when other economic participants see that, they also respond likewise. So which means, having said that, we can therefore conclude that financing a deficit by money creation will lead to sustained inflation. It will most likely lead to that. For what reason? Number one, money creation basically increases demand. So if that demand is not coupled with an increase in supply, it's basically going to result in an increase in the prices. Right. And then maybe another thing that you can put up is sometimes this deficit, this whole money creation process is done through debt, right? Through debt financing. So if it's through debt, sometimes the debt is not just from the Reserve Bank, but even foreign institutions, right? So once we find ourselves owing these foreign institutions, we need to also, inflation is going to follow suit in any case to cover up for all those interests. All right. Let's look at the apples story. Right. Given 3 goods are produced by 3 producers in an economy, so we have an orchard owner who's doing apples, bananas grower who's growing bananas, and the chocolatier who's doing chocolates. So if the orchard owner likes only bananas, right there, so the orchard owner likes bananas, and then the banana grower only chocolate, all right, and then the chocolatier likes only apples, right? Will trade take place among these 3 producers in a barter economy? What do you think of that? So given that the orchard owner, let me try and draw here. That's the orchard owner likes bananas. Okay, no, I need a straight line. Right. I want to see, oh, why is this failing me now? All right, I got it. I'm gonna do this with a straight line. And what color is this? It looks like, okay, maybe it's purple. I'm not so good with colors. Right, so suppose the orchard owner, they said he likes bananas, and then the banana grower prefers chocolates, and then the chocolatier prefers apples. All right, so in that instance, is trade going to take place? And how is this trade going to take place? Right. So if the orchard owner likes only bananas, they will go that arrow, and then the banana grower likes only chocolate, and then the chocolatier likes only apples. And what are we going to do with that? And how do you think we can trade here? How do you think we can trade? What do you think on this one? Who can trade and who can not trade?
I think trade will take place because like all the goods that are produced, they are actually, I can't explain it like in English, but there's some like all the goods, they have somewhere where they're in need, or I don't know how to say it.
True, yes, I hear that. Okay,
You
let's
hear
try
what
it.
I'm saying?
I can say that yes, there will be a trade, but it's going to be an indirect trade. They can exchange goods among themselves, but it's going to be indirect trade. It won't be direct trade.
I agree. Because everyone needs something that everyone has. So let's see how this indirect trade can. Okay, so the orchard owner likes bananas, right? So what can he do for him to get bananas? He can exchange his bananas for apples, right? And then now who has apples? The banana grower has apples, right? And then he got what he wanted, and then chocolatier and the one who has apples now, the banana grower, can then exchange amongst themselves. Okay, let me do a drawing. So let's put a different color now. So on number 1, the orchard owner wants bananas. Let me see if I can get an R. The orchard owner wants bananas, right? So what is he gonna do? He's gonna exchange his bananas for apples. The banana grower. Hey, where did I put that? Okay, it's back. So the banana grower, now these ones have changed. Like these ones have changed. So the banana grower now has apples, but it doesn't exactly want apples, he wants chocolate. And then those apples can then change with chocolate here. He wants apples. So that's how that can work then. So we simply need to put that in writing. But I like what you said about that, the fact that it's an indirect trade, right? It's an indirect trade. So to some degree, there's some inconvenience here that is going on, right? There's some sort of inconvenience that is going on. All right. Right, now let's jump to the next one. Explain in detail what should be done in such an economy to benefit the three producers. Also indicate what is the function of money in this instance. So they have already given us the money here, as in terms of what should be done in this economy. So you need to introduce money. And then money is what function? As a medium of exchange. So we introduce that money is a medium of exchange. Why so? Because it will eliminate the double coincidence of ones. Suppose here we're lucky because the chocolatier wanted apples. Suppose he also didn't want apples. Where was the banana grower going to get apples to? You see. So that's where money comes in there as a medium of exchange. It's used there as a medium of exchange. So remember the uses of money. There's that one comes in. So that's what we are explaining there. Okay. So explain in detail what should be done in such an economy. So what needs to be done in this economy for us to benefit these three producers is to introduce money as a medium of exchange. Right? What does money do? What is money? Money is anything that is accepted in exchange for goods and services, and is also accepted for the payment of debt. Right? So here, the primary function of money becomes as a medium of exchange. So which means in your explanation now, you are saying they need not to exchange goods amongst each other, but they now need to just exchange money, and then you can decide whatever you want to do with the money that you have. All right. And then interest rates have an impact on the overall health of an economy. Explain the effect of changes in the interest rates on the sides of both consumers and businesses. In your answer, include the effect of interest rates during COVID. I don't know if they are still going to be asking questions about COVID-19 now, but most likely they will, because it was a very big thing, right? During and post COVID-19. So we are looking at our scenario here. Okay, so let's start with, so we need to separate these now. Let's start off with consumers. How were consumers affected? How were consumers affected by the changes in the interest rates during COVID-19 and post-COVID-19? So during COVID-19, interest rates were lowered in order to boost consumption, and then post-COVID-19, they increased. So remember, last week we posted that video there where the governor was saying these interest rates do not hurt the unemployed, right? They actually hurt the people, the managed people, right? The people who've got access to borrowing, right? So what's your take on this one? How do you think consumers, or how are you affected? Let me put it that way.
The standard of living is very high. Yeah, we have issues in terms of affordability. Yeah, so basically, yeah, the standard of living is very high. Food prices are high, petrol, like everything is high. Like even the most basic things that we used to afford, now we can't afford. Even our staple foods are very expensive. So yeah, so basically that's how we are affected. And when it comes to businesses, I'm not sure what happened to Dando.
We can hear you.
Yeah, but it seems like Dando just logged out with the slides.
The network.
Mm.
Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys. I'm back here. I'm here. All right. So I think just before I got rudely interrupted there, my apologies. I was asking a question now in terms of. I'm just gonna reshare that there. I'm just gonna reshare that. Right. So it was in terms of the interest rates, as the effect that would have on consumption or on consumers, rather. So how were you affected as a consumer when the interest rates went down? How were you affected?
When the interest rates went down, as a consumer, I was affected that the installment of my bond went down. And then also the credit cards, it was a low rate, and then also the repayments of the debts were also low. So I'm getting more from my income now, disposable income, because of the low interest rate.
Perfect. I love
the
that.
question says when it's gone down. Oh, okay. I thought maybe it says when it's gone up.
Oh, okay. The first one is gone down, which is what during COVID. Yeah, it's gone down. Sorry, during COVID. So I perfectly agree with that. It's very practical. We are looking at this. I think a marker will be impressed by that because we are looking at this now from a practical perspective in terms of what we experience or what we expect a normal person to experience. So what about when they go up now post-COVID still as a consumer?
Okay, I think the answer that I gave before you went out, I think that's the answer for that.
Okay, I missed it out. Sorry, please.
Oh, I said that the standard of living became very expensive. The bonds went high. Our interest in terms of borrowing also went high. So borrowing becomes very difficult. Yes.
So
and
let
even
me say
even the prices of food as well.
that.
It also affects the prices of food. Yes.
This is the prices of food. So the big argument now was the governor said the unemployed are not affected by an increase by the increase in the interest rates, right? And you are saying the prices of food goes up. Then the governor is saying the reason why we are increasing interest rates is so that we reduce the prices of food. So which is which now? Which one should we go for?
In terms of borrowing, the unemployed, they are not affected. But in terms of when they are getting these 350 rands, those unemployed people, it's going to be affected because when the food of price is going up. So when the food of price is going up, it's going up for everyone who's unemployed and also who's employed.
But the governor is saying we are on the same page. The reason why we are increasing the interest rates is to fight inflation. So I'm actually on the side of the unemployed. That's what the governor was saying. So which one is which?
But still, like on the practical terms, it's the food is still. But on practical terms, we are right. I don't.
So because now I saw the others were even saying these businesses borrow loans, right? They borrow loans now to produce this food that we see. So when their loan interests go up, they are obviously going to increase
the food
prices as well.
Yes, I think it's mostly the business side that is affecting the the prices of the food.
So according to you now, how should we control the prices? What should we do? Let's say you are now the governor or an advisor to the governor. How do we then fight inflation? Since now clearly you are saying we should not increase the interest rates. What should we do?
So what I would say that the government should not increase the price of basic foods, you understand, the basic ones, so that even those people that they are unemployed, they can afford to buy the basic foods.
Okay, so
it's how he can meet halfway with the unemployed people.
With the unemployed people. But where is the government going to get the money from? Now
it gets from taxes. He's getting from taxes.
People are not working. Who's paying taxes? Now there's a deficit now.
For me, I think it's not possible to just I think it's not going to be possible for the government to just not raise interest rates in this instance, but the only way they can be able to do that so that people can actually contribute is them through job creation. So if there's no job creation, then they need to find an alternative, and increasing the interest rates is one of them. So yeah, so basically for me it's that. So for as long as they don't find an alternative.
Then Ramaphosa is asking you the question, how do you create jobs? Now what should we do exactly? I need to come out of this meeting
to cut off the tenders. If they can cut off the tenders, the job will be created for everyone that will get the benefits. Because now these tenders, they are only paying people like 20 rands per hour. So you cannot say that person has been employed, earning only 20 rands per hour. No, they have to cut off these tenders and then make people get permanent jobs.
Okay. I saw the EFF talking about particularly the contractors in the municipalities, particularly in the local governments, where they were saying like these people were subcontracted, particularly the cleaners, they were being subcontracted with to other companies. There's a guy that I was talking to not so long ago from the city of Joburg about that, how they subcontract other companies, and then those ones now it's like a tender to them because they are paying those guys peanuts.
Yes.
But maybe also, again,
for me, I think we also it's going to be difficult for us to deal with the issues of trend and whatnot. But I think the most fundamental issue in us creating jobs is maybe take an option of entrepreneurship. Like we know that the reason why we have so many unemployed graduates with qualifications that are really not assisting us is because they cannot do anything else without. Because the only thing that we are taught in our universities for us to become workers, and I think that's one of the reasons why. Okay, my baby's crying. It's one of the reasons why we have a high rate of unemployment. It's because we have so many people that are actually going into the workforce and no one is actually creating jobs. So maybe if the government could rather invest in entrepreneurship, then that way we can be able to create more jobs.
So you think maybe our curriculums need to change now and focus
Yes.
on employment creation?
Yes. If I'm an engineer and I can't find a job, then I must be able to then start my own thing on the side so that I can be able to create more jobs rather than me going to university studying and then only learn how to be an engineer, but only learn to utilize my skills as a worker, but not as an employer. So perhaps in that way, if we learn how to create jobs, then we're going to be able to because if one person is able to start a business, we know that person can employ like 10 people. So in that way, we are going to be able to create employment. So yeah, so basically it's a matter of changing the curriculum as well.
So which means entrepreneurship is therefore the biggest driver towards fighting unemployment.
Yes, because all the grants that they're trying to come up with and all the internships and whatnot, they're not the solution. For me, I think they are also going to create another crisis for us in the near future, because the more you can't fight unemployment with underemployment, you see, so it's going to be another problem that we're going to face in the near future. So I think they just need to focus on that, because right now they seem to be very clueless on how are they going to eradicate unemployment.
Very clueless.
Yes.
Everywhere in Africa, they are clueless. China has been doing well in terms of eradicating unemployment. But maybe the biggest problem with China is perhaps the quality of employment again. The jobs that people are getting and the wages that they are getting are very quite low. But well, in any case, I'm hoping that since you guys are the next generation of leaders, hopefully things are going to, but particularly I would say with blacks in particular, that's one place where we need to improve in ourselves in terms of job creation. If you look at it statistically speaking, most of us are employed, not just here, right? Not just here in Africa, but as well as if you go overseas, wherever you see a black person. I was remarking the one time that we've got most of our black brothers going abroad to get employment there. But you even have white people, you have Pakistanis, you've got Indian people, you've got Chinese people coming down here to employ black people. Where have you seen a situation where you go to the UK, you start your company in the UK and you employ white people there, or you go to Pakistan, you open your shop there? It's always the other way around. So how could there be a situation where we become slaves in our own land? Someone comes from far off there to come, because basically this employment is some form of slavery, right? Where you basically need to rely on the next person who came from abroad to give you a salary. Why couldn't we do that in the first place, so that when they come here as job seekers, the way in which we are going that side? So they come here as job seekers and we employ them. Maybe like you're saying, it's because we don't really have the skills, the entrepreneurial skills. You see, maybe we have the skills that we've attained through our education. We simply know how to do a couple of things, but we don't have the skill set to start companies. So we don't even know how to start those companies, the legalities that are involved. So they know those things and then they employ you to do the job. It really sucks anyway. But well, what about businesses now? Let's conclude by looking at the effect of interest rates on businesses. I think on this one, we might all be in agreement with the men, right? We might be in agreement with the men. So what do you think happens now when the interest rates are high for businesses? So our explanation now is, sorry, let's start off with low. The interest rates were low during COVID. Maybe our starting point would say why we think the interest rates were low during COVID, right? Which was basically what we call quantitative easing, or the expansionary monetary policy, right? So what do you think, what would have been the effect on businesses? Right. Lowering interest rates. What's the effect of that?
Okay, can I try?
Yes, please.
I think we had a similar effect because I remember during COVID, most people couldn't go to work, and so it meant that during that time, many businesses would have to shut down. So with the lowering of the interest rates, it made it easier for them to borrow more money to sustain their businesses. So I think it also made borrowing for them very easier. However, obviously post COVID, it also created more implications for them.
Okay. That's true.
Yes, in terms of paying back the interest rate, the paying back the loans that they had borrowed at that time.
I saw people's taxes being repossessed.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the case. So which means post-COVID now, we've got interest rates that have even gone up, and then we've tied ourselves to these debt contracts. We need to pay back this interest. So basically, the growth was different. So remember the negative relationship between interest rates and investment spending. So whenever the interest rates are high, investment spending is low, and vice versa. So which means post-COVID, the investment is going to be low for businesses. So that's
Yes,
how
even remember during even the looting period in KZN, some businesses actually banned their own businesses so that they can be able to get insurance to cover up the losses made during COVID. So yeah.
It was really a hectic time.
Mm.
I really heard of some businesses that did that. Anyway, but hey, people take chances, eh? All right. Anyway, guys, enough for today. So hopefully I'll communicate so we can have another session possibly tomorrow. Right? I'll communicate and see how our schedule is on that. But other than that, bye and enjoy. I think we still have a bit of time on this one, especially we'll be handling quite a lot of it maybe from Wednesday going forward, because I'll be done with the earlier modules. Right. Bye and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Ntando. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.